Welcome back, gang, to more great adventures with members of the Florida Powerboat Club here throughout 2019 as we continue this incredible series of exploring the Bahamas now, summer Bahamas trip. It's a 28th year now for this Bahamas poker run, where we are going to have over 20 boats leaving from North Miami, heading across the Gulf Stream to Bimini, on to Chub Cay, continuing to Nassau and to the Exumas. The Florida Powerboat Club's Poker Run event series and these YouTube episodes are presented by Mercury Racing Wide Open and by OffLeaseOnly.com, the nation's used car destination, along with these leading marine industry sponsors. Stu Jones joining you here to narrate this episode, and we're going to present some behind-the-scenes coverage as we get started here with our production right here at the Pompano Air Park. Flying today with Florida Coast to Coast helicopter. We're going to have Jerry from Avatar Productions shooting the aerial stills. He's going to be sitting in the front seat. And we're going to have Joe from Skyview Productions sitting in the back seat shooting video. And this is a standard procedure for us to fly with Florida Coast to Coast. They're based in Pompano Beach, which might seem kind of far from our starting point, but it seems to be working really well for the Florida Powerboat Club. They've got some great pilots and the rates are excellent, so we're very happy to continue that way. So let's kick things off with Fred and Judy Revis from South Carolina. Actually, really from Lighthouse Point now. They spend a lot of time here. We've got a beautiful home in Lighthouse Point where they keep their 42-foot MTI. That's Quad Mercury Racing 400Rs. This is one of two MTIs owned by Fred and Judy. The other one is a 48 Cat powered by Mercury Racing 1350s. There's no way they're bringing the Cat to the Bahamas, and that's because this 42 center console is really the ideal platform to be doing Bahamas cruising with. So it's going to be their first big trip to the Bahamas with the club. They've been with the club a long time, but this is really their first adventure offshore, going across the Gulf Stream to Bimini, Chub Cay, Nassau, and continuing on to the Exumas. Now, you may be wondering, how did we just manage to find one boat when we've got about 20 planned to go today? That's because the helicopter left out of Pompano Beach, and so did Fred and Judy. They left right out of the Hillsborough Inlet, and we knew that Fred and Judy were heading down that way. We told the helicopter to get offshore and start looking around, and we were certain that they'd find one or two boats. So this worked out really well because it gave us a lot of airtime now with Fred and Judy to see this very cool 42. And they were flying south anyway. In the meantime, everybody else is down at Haulover Marine Center getting ready for the start of the event. And it's going to be really perfect timing as Fred and Judy come in the Haulover Inlet and rendezvous with the group. That's about the time that we're going to be doing our very first poker card. Now, normally we'd be starting these events much, much earlier. Usually around 6:30 a.m. we'll be pushing off the dock and trying to make the Gulf Stream by 7 a.m. But the seas were relatively calm today, and it gave us an opportunity to sleep in that extra hour and take a slightly later start. Now, this doesn't always work that way. We always highly recommend anybody leaving for the Bahamas, try to leave at the crack of dawn. That's when you're going to get the best sea conditions, and that's when you're going to have the best crossing. Those tall buildings in the background, of course, North Miami, and that means we're getting closer and closer to Haulover Inlet, where we're going to soon rendezvous with the rest of the boats. So while we're cruising along here for the next minute or so, just a few bullet points about this upcoming trip. It's the 28th year for this Bahamas poker run that we've done, and it's the first time that we're going to be doing a complete run all the way down to the Exumas again. It's been a long time since we've gone to that part of the Bahamas. It's going to be a 6-day agenda altogether, and that means we're going to depart today, which is a Friday. We're going to spend Friday and Saturday night in Bimini and do some area cruising in the Bimini area. Most of the boats are going to continue on, then we're going to cross the Bahama Bank, heading due east from Bimini, heading over to Chub Cay. We're going to stop for lunch and a refuel there before we take off for that last 35-mile crossing across the Northwest Channel into Nassau. We'll have 3 total days spent in Nassau. One of those days is going to be an outing to Rose Island. The second day is going to be a bigger outing going all the way to the Exumas, where there are plenty of exciting activities awaiting us. So let's check in now at Haulover Marine Center, our official launch pad for this poker run and for many, many events with the Florida Powerboat Club. But let's backtrack about 10 minutes and see what was going on just as the helicopter was making its way southbound. All of these teams were doing their final preparations, a little wipe down, getting the dew and the moisture off of the deck of the boats. We had a little bit of a light rain shower earlier. That's one of the reasons that we held off the departure. But it gave everyone the opportunity to gather up here at Haulover Marine Center. We had a nice breakfast served for everyone. We did things a little differently on this breakfast, brought it up a notch. Instead of doing the traditional Einstein's bagels and coffee, we actually hired a catering company to come in and present really a beautiful breakfast presentation. Everyone was very impressed by it, and so it was just something we did a little differently. We might do more of this in the future. I don't think that we even got halfway through all of this breakfast grub. It was so much food because we had to get out here and do the poker cards. Hey, ladies, getting ready for a good run here. But yes, it's fast and furious. We've got to get some breakfast in the belly, get the boats loaded, and we got to be on the move. When the weather window opens up, you really got to seize that moment, and that's exactly what we're doing. Getting our first poker card here with Team Dixie Normus pulling up in that big 47-foot fountain. And we made just enough time for everybody to mosey up to the dock, get their card. We've got Jackie. You can't see her, but my wife Jackie is handing off the poker cards team by team. Here's Jason and Krisha Tolliver in their 34-foot Sensation CCX, which in my opinion is one of the most ideal boats for doing these long extended runs to the Bahamas. Nice big center console. They get to bring all their friends. Okay, give us a wave. Well, it's pretty clear that there's a lot of center consoles dominating this roster, but nice to see Jeff Harris show up in this 38-foot cigarette Top Gun, one of 6 cigarettes that are registered for the run. So it's nice to see some of these performance V-bottoms still making the Bahamas roster. What you can't see behind the fiberglass here is that these monster performance engines that Jeff built are very unique, and hopefully we'll get a chance to show them to you a little later. But this boat actually belongs to Mike Lopez, who is driving his 46-foot cigarette on the run. And here's another 38-foot Top Gun, Dave and Stacy Condon from Massachusetts. Their first poker run with the club. Bob Perrette at the helm. But nice to see these classic Top Guns making the event. I was really impressed to see out of the 6 cigarettes registered, 2 of them were center consoles and 4 of them were performance V-bottoms. And for the biggest cigarette registered in that group of 6, this is Mike Lopez from Illinois. His 46-foot Rough Rider powered by Mercury Racing 1075s. Good morning.
How's it going?
Time for a lucky card.
Thank you.
All right. All right, give me a little pose. Lucky card. What's up, gang? All good, guys. How's our card girl doing today?
Bahamas Poker Run 2019.
Oh, look at that. The helicopter's here. Time to roll. They're playing. So we do have the helicopter arriving now. Time to board our official pace boat, along with Ryan Charnowski and this big 42-foot Freeman Cat, powered by Quad Mercury 400s. And it's going to be a great ride. Been looking forward to riding on this Freeman. It's such an ideal platform for a Bahamas poker run. Lots of room to carry all your friends, and they got a big crew today. Another big crew on board here with Michael and Laurie Smith in their 41-foot Cigarette GTR Reserve Quad Mercury Racing 400Rs. Doesn't get much better than this, guys. That is the ideal Bahamas Island chaser. So I would say that right about now, everyone is getting very excited about this crossing. We're going to rally the group up here before we take off. It's always nice to have everybody together milling just inside the cut. And the reason for that is we want to make sure we have a boat count that's accurate, and it gives me a chance to just take one more look to see who all made it. Because sometimes there's always one or two boats that just don't make it down to the marina, and they don't necessarily start with us. So I've got to keep that in mind and make a note of it, because we're going to be looking for those boats later in the run. But let me talk about the disparity here in the types of boats and, of course, the speeds of the boats. Now, most people who are familiar with the club realize that we have now up to 4 different classes that are based on speed. There's a sport boat class, really 2 sport boat classes for center consoles, twin engine, and then triple and quad. Then there's a high performance class for the cats and the 100 plus boats. And then there's that in between class. It's a yellow sticker called the performance class. That's going to be for performance V bottoms and some of the smaller cats. Well, now you've got some boats that are going 50 or 60 miles an hour and some boats that are going triple digit speeds. But that is not the way we run these Bahamas poker runs. We dispense with the different speed groups, and we come up with one speed that we're comfortable with. And everyone does always have the option of running a little faster if they wish to. But we're going to run about 55 miles per hour. And the reason for that is that we want to be able to control the group and have some structure and make sure that we can keep our eye on everybody as we cross. Remember, if you break down out in the middle of the Gulf Stream, you could have some problems. And it's nice to know that you have the peace of mind of having that group with you to help you solve these problems, whatever they might be. And sooner or later we're going to make a decision if we're going to offload your crew and send the boat back, or if we're going to give you the time you need to maybe fix whatever those problems are. Safety is still a top priority and certainly paramount to the success of these events. Notice that everybody on board on Flak Bait here has got their life jackets on, and we're not going to dispense with that formality. That is a guideline that we maintain here, and Ryan Charnowski and his crew are really good about it. Captain Mike on board and his crew, they're like, nobody had a problem putting those life jackets on. Oh, we got one. But I think he put it on a little later. Now we're making our way out through the Haulover Inlet, and we now rendezvous with the helicopter to get that money shot as the first group of boats take off. But this Flak Bait center console is going to be our pace boat, which might seem to be not the best fit, but I can assure you that this Freeman 42 is a very solid performing boat. It'll cruise at 55, 60 all day long comfortably, and even with such a big crew and all that luggage, I was very impressed with how well the boat ran. But I think everyone is just going to be in their comfort zone today. It seems like the sea conditions have held out pretty well to relatively calm, typical summer conditions, light winds. I think that they're going to build just a little bit as we get across the Gulf Stream, but nothing that any of these boats are going to have any trouble with. There's certainly no big hurry to get to the Bahamas, but we do have to have a little bit of a strategy with our helicopter now too. And the reason for that is that our helicopter can really only fly about 6 or 7 miles offshore. And we're going to gobble up that 6 or 7 miles really quickly if we start running 55 or 60 miles per hour on a due east heading towards Bimini. So what we're planning to do instead is to head southbound along the Miami shoreline so that we can get a good time with the helicopter along the coastal route before we start heading offshore. And that will give us the opportunity to shoot all the boats, a good-sized group really, 20 boats registered for the Bahamas Poker Run. It's one of our higher turnouts for this event, and I think that our numbers are going to continue to climb already for 2020. I'm seeing a lot of people that are saying they really have this Bahamas Poker Run on their bucket list. So it's fast and furious this morning as we kick things off. Up to speed now as we now catch up with Mike Lopez on that big 46-foot cigarette Rough Rider powered by Mercury Racing 1075s. Going to be his first poker run with this boat, which he just purchased from another club member. And just a quick shot of TJ Grunwald in his statement all the way from Michigan. And it's old school cigarette day. Dave and Stacy Condon from Massachusetts, their first poker run with the club in this 38-foot cigarette Top Gun. And as I said earlier, it was a shock to me to see this many old school 38 cigs. You know, I was supposed to bring my Project 1080 cigarette, but I had a problem dockside at the last minute, and I overheated the motor and burned up an impeller. Turns out it was just a small plastic water tube that is in the transom assembly that's not visible. It failed. But anyway, we'll get our time. We'll get our chance to bring Project 1080 over to the Bahamas. Still hasn't happened as of yet, but nice to see these guys with these old cigarettes coming out and braving the Gulf Stream to head over to the Bahamas with the club. And what a great shot now as we get that money shot. The whole group making their way southbound just before the point at which we're going to make our turn and head on a southeast heading directly for Bimini, which will be our destination for the next 2 days. Now some more time with these center consoles. Chris Ribeiro in his 38-foot Donzi center console, low maintenance, a term or a name he came up with after owning a cigarette 45 with Mercury Racing 1075s, a boat that was really a cool cigarette, but a lot of maintenance. But this Donzi's powered by triple Mercury 400Rs, and he's really happy with that power package. And it looks like it's time for some Nortec love. I can see two of them here in this frame. Running right up front here, Team FJ Propeller, Jimmy Harrison and his crew in this 39-foot Nortec 390 Sport, Quad Mercury Racing 400Rs, and these guys are locked and loaded for the Bahamas. Let's welcome back Roger and Pam Anderson in their 39 Nortec center console, triple Mercury 350 Verados, a more modest package really, but ideal for this 390 Sport. They've done the Bahamas before. They loved it, so they're back again. All the way from Texas, longtime supporters of Florida Powerboat Club. That's a cool shot from the helicopter here as we now catch up with Laurent Besnier and his Doug Wright Cat, the only boat on the run with a full racing canopy. I love these nice wide shots because it illustrates just how great everybody's doing. Everyone has found their lane and has found a speed they're comfortable with. Nobody's trying to set any speed records. We're just cruising along at about 55 miles per hour. It's not a race, and there is no prize for anyone for getting there first. So the idea here today is endurance and enjoying the ride. And doing a great job up front here is Captain Mike on Ryan Charnowski's 42-foot Freeman Flakbait. Interesting story behind that name, Flakbait. It was a World War II bomber with apparently a very colorful history, a very decorated crew on board. And if you want to look it up, I think it's worth finding out. That's why Ryan selected that name, and it's a great fit for the boat. So this is the money shot, guys. We're stepping it up. We slowed things down just for a second so we could make our turn and get all the boats assembled in a nice pack. And this is the point at which we are clearly going to take a new heading and head southeast directly for Bimini. The purpose really is that we just managed to get a good 10 or 15 minutes in with the helicopter without going more than about a mile off the shoreline here in Miami. And that has given us the time we needed to capture these great images of all the boats as we are departing on this exciting adventure to the Bahamas. But now it's going to be a straight shot, 50 miles exactly, pretty much from port to port. That's from Port of Miami to the port of entrance at Bimini. And with the conditions that we have today and the speeds we're going to run, it should be about a 45 to 50 minute ride, depending on how the seas end up as we get into the Gulf Stream. But that's our plan, and we've got all day to get there. No speed records need to be set. We just need to find our lane and make sure that our crew is comfortable, and just look at this incredible money shot. This is what I love setting this up. It is so cool to see all these boats, each one in his own lane, carving his own lane, heading eastbound across to the Bahamas. The skies look relatively clear. Not what we'd love to see would be blue skies and no clouds, but this is typical weather for a summer morning in South Florida. I think you can tell from this crew shot that the spirits are high, and everyone's really enjoying the ride, especially because they get to look across and see their fellow boaters. Just, as far as you can see, we've spread out over about a 2 or 3 mile course here, making our way. Some of us are picking the speeds up a little more into the 60, 70 mile an hour range, and some of us are going to be content to sit right about 45 or 50. That's okay, but it doesn't really work for a long period of time because everyone gets spread out too much. It's difficult for us to see all of the boats, and that's when you begin to worry if some of the boats in the back of the pack may be dropped off. So what we like to do to compensate for that is every once in a while, if we do get ahead of the pack, we'll just slow down and even stop just randomly and wait for the pack to catch up. Looks like John Chrysler's doing just fine here. He's got one of the biggest boats on the run. In fact, I think it is the biggest, a 47-foot Fountain Lightning, triple Mercury 525s. He's got the right power package to get him there safely and get him back. But let me just remind everybody how much times have changed. So here we are with a triple stern drive 47. That used to be a garden variety boat. There were so many of them, and now they're very rare to see on some of these runs. The new normal, of course, like Jimmy Harrison in this 39-foot Nortec center console, triple or quad outboard setups is pretty normal. And you look at that, 10, 12, 14 people on a center console, not a problem. And let's say hi to Bennett and Jimena Lofton. They took a big turn in their boating lifestyle. They put their 42 Nordic aside and said, let's get ourselves a center console since we're doing so much boating in Florida. Picked up this used 36 Deep Impact and having a lot of fun with the boat. Their first Bahamas run in their first new center console. And we came up alongside a couple of center consoles that were just carving their own course, not on the run, but we said, hey, what the hell, let's leave them in the video. They're out having fun, and maybe they'll see themselves on this YouTube episode. And it's a family affair for the Smiths from Naples, Florida. Michael and Laurie Smith got their daughters with them, who are all grown up now. I remember meeting them more than 10 years ago when they had a 39 Nortec. We did an aerial photo shoot, and the girls rode with me in the helicopter. And let's spend a little more time now with Chris Ribeiro, all the way from Texas, in his 38-foot Donzi, low maintenance, a complete resto mod for him. He bought an older boat and redid it completely inside and out with fresh Mercury Racing 400Rs. Got his gal Ray on board, and a very interesting experience ahead for them. They have their friends Brad and Leanne, who are about to be married in Bimini while they're with us on the Bahamas Poker Run. I think that's really exciting, and what a great place to do it. So congratulations to the newlyweds, Brad and Leanne, and we're going to have some drinks in Bimini to help you guys celebrate. And now a little more time with Dave and Stacy Condon from Massachusetts, a long way from home here, with their 38-foot Cigarette. And I really love this cool shot with the cigarette pointed eastbound into the horizon, and a classic shot, because understand that this image has been taken over and over again through the years, since the early 90s when we started the club and started doing these poker runs. I can't imagine to guess how many 38 Top Guns have done this run with us. And just look at how nicely this 38 is handling the waters. And a very special welcome to Laurent and Nadia Besnier. They're from France. It says Florida, but it's because they have a home in Florida, but they spend most of their time in France. In fact, most of the winter they are in the French Alps at a ski resort, and the rest of the time, in the summertime, they like to travel. So that's when we see them every year. This is a 32-foot Doug Wright full race canopy, Twin Mercury Racing 400Rs, a nice setup, really a full race setup, but you can't see it, but there's a total of 4 of them in there. They brought another couple with them to the Bahamas. And let's welcome longtime members Roger and Pam Anderson from Texas, who made a big boating lifestyle change a few years back when they bought this Nortec 390 center console. They kept their 42 fountain, but this center console has given them all of the extra features that made it possible for them to begin really exploring and going on longer trips with the club. And a very appropriate segue over to Fred and Judy Revis, who are from South Carolina, now residing in Lighthouse Point, Florida. And in many ways, I compare them to Pam and Roger Anderson, who we just saw in the Nortec. And I think Fred and Judy, in a lot of ways, have some similarities in that they have always had performance boats, but moving to this center console has really changed their outlook on their cruising lifestyle, and it's given them a chance to go on these longer trips with the club, multi-day, several hundred miles. You're not going to do that in a fountain or a performance boat. You want to do it in a reliable center console, obviously a performance center console with Mercury Racing Verados, but it's just given so many people the opportunity to spread their wings and step outside the box. And I really congratulate Fred and Judy and Roger and Pam and all those other couples out there who have made that decision to get into a reliable center console and are starting to say, you know what, let's really, really go boating now. And that's exactly what we're doing with this Bahamas poker run. This is a serious boating adventure, several hundred miles, multiple days, and I applaud everyone who's made that decision to join the club and take a leap of faith with us on these events. And another great shot that really, if nothing else, illustrates the diversity in terms of the fleet we have and the roster of different boats. Only 2 catamarans on this 20-boat roster. That very racy Doug Wright cat with the full canopy far off in the distance. And right up front here, Ryan Charnosky and his new Freeman 42. Quite a different boat in many ways. Obviously, it's a catamaran, and it's a very unique design as well. Super wide beam, a lot of open space in the cockpit, obviously a center console with T-top, but you can see the outboard configuration. You don't see this too often, 4 outboards on a catamaran that is also a center console, and it only really is seen on a very few of the manufacturers. Freeman is one of them, and they were able to adapt 4 engines, all 400 Mercs. They're not Mercury Racing Verados, they're actually flashed Mercury factory 400s. I don't see too many of those, but they're pushing the boat along really nicely, and I think Ryan is very happy with his new Freeman. Now let's say hi to Daniel and Lana Dickert in their 34-foot Nortec, triple Mercury 350s, a great cruising package, and once again, can't say enough about these center consoles, and Nortec has really nailed it. The 34 is now their entry-level model to their full lineup of center consoles. At one time, they did make a few boats down in the 29-foot range, but they have pretty much realized that this 340 is so popular. It runs great with 2 engines and very well with 3. Now with the new Mercury Racing 450s, I'm starting to see guys just put 2 of those on board, and the boat runs great. But you can see how it's running right now, just breaking the water beautifully. It's got great cruising range and plenty of room for at least 6 or 7 adults. And a nice shot from the helm here aboard our Freeman 42 official pace boat. As we approach Bimini, the seas are calming down, the sun is coming out, and it looks like we've got a great day ahead of us. Well, we're off plane now after a wonderful Gulfstream crossing. Looks like the Jones boys are quite occupied there today. Don't want to bother them. They've got to check their messages. But we're rolling into the Bimini Harbor now. Say hi to Team FJ Propeller. Jimmy Harrison and his crew got the rods out, ready to go fishing today. But you can't drop your lines in the water until you have that Bahamas fishing permit. And that's exactly what we're about to get as we arrive now at the Bimini Big Game Club, where we'll settle in and clear customs.
We're going through the process of the Bimini welcome process, which is we start out by doing customs and immigration, but there's already like 4 or 5 guys in the customs office. So me and the boys are going to wander down here to the immigration office, which is otherwise known as the Pink Building. We're going to get a nail and a pedicure. We're going to get a manicure and a pedicure while we're here.
A mani-pedi?
Mani-pedi, and probably, what's up guys? And then they're going to go back, and so once they get immigration out of the way, then they can go do customs. This is a way that we figured out the best way to do it, making good use of our time. We should have everything done in about an hour doing it this way.
And then we get a drink?
And then we get a drink, yes.
Sweet.
Bimini's sold out this weekend. It's the first weekend. Oh, I'm going to show them the shortcut. Follow me, guys. One thing that you never have to do here is walk in the front door. Once you hang out in Bimini long enough, you know there's a back door into everything. I'm going to show them the back door into immigration. Surely this will cut off at least 3 guys ahead of them by doing it this way. Just one of the little benefits of hanging out with Stu. Okay, watch out for that dog shit.
Right.
Well, that was a great crossing and a first-time adventure for many of the people who joined us. So at this time, I think we'll take a break, and we'll plan on bringing you back some more exciting coverage of the 2019 edition of the Bahamas Poker Run with a lot of highlights from our raft-up party at Honeymoon Harbor. We got a chance to feed the stingrays, even made friends with a couple of nurse sharks. But it was a wonderful stay in Bimini at the Resorts World Bimini Hilton. Of course, we continued further eastbound across the Bahamas Bank to Chub Cay, had a nice stop over there, enjoyed the restaurant and refueled. Then we continued on to Nassau, where some of us stayed at Palm Key Resort, the rest of us at Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas. And we had a wonderful day trip, at least 2 day trips, off to Rose Island on one day. And the big adventure was going all the way down to the Exumas, which included a stopover for lunch at Staniel Key, and of course that famous landmark Pig Beach at Big Major Key. An exciting trip for all of us. It's all going to be here in our next episode with continuing coverage of the Bahamas Poker Run. The Florida Powerboat Club's Poker Run event series and these YouTube episodes are presented by Mercury Racing Wide Open and by OffLeaseOnly.com, the nation's used car destination, along with these leading marine industry sponsors. We are at well over 22,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel, Florida Powerboat Club, so we ask you to please subscribe and be sure to click the notification bell. That way you'll get all the updates from YouTube every time a new episode is posted on the site. And for all of our social media following, you can check us out on Facebook at Florida Powerboat Club, as well as these Instagram pages. And remember, if you want information about club membership or to sign up for events, you can just go to the club website at flpowerboat.com for all of the updates. Thanks for watching. This is Stu Jones. Remember to be safe out there, respect your fellow boater, and always wear your life jackets. We'll see you next time.